Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to round 6 of the Apex Racing League Prototype Championship live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. I've got alongside me in the commentary booth tonight Austin Knight, and Jamie Fluke is taking us with this broadcast. And Austin, we are here at Hockenheim for this round 6 of the championship. fairly wide circuit in parts, fairly narrow circuit in parts as well. I don't think this is necessarily going to be the easiest track when it comes to negotiating these P1 and P2 cars.
Yeah, this track is a mix of a little bit of perfect for our prototypes and a mix of why do we go here? Because, you know, the opening part of the section, the first two sectors are fantastic prototype racing, but when we head into that tight arena section, it's going to be a lot of hit and miss here and there with a few of these cars because it's pretty tight. You can go side by side in there, but that bank corner and then the S-bend is going to be very hard for these LMP1s and to navigate the LMP2 traffic. And if you dip the wheel off right there, oh, we've seen some massive crashes. And speaking of dipping a wheel, turn 1 has that massive curb on the outside, and that is going to be a big talk point, especially if some of our top guys get floor damage.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not 100% sure how sensitive these cars are, but they are
Very.
that yeah, as you say, Austin, they are going to be very brittle and very vulnerable to any curb strikes. Here is the track. Turn 1, of course, super quick, very different to how it used to be. It used to be quite a long radius curve, but then they shortened the radius, and it can be very tricky, particularly on lap 1, especially the kink just beforehand. And then turn 2, good overtaking opportunity. 3 isn't really a corner, and 4 is easy flats in these very high performance cars. And then you go through the parabolica, which again isn't really a corner, and before you know it, Austin, you feel like you've only done 2 corners, and yet you're at turn 6.
Yeah, the first real corner that most of these drivers really think about is that hairpin, and we're going to be seeing a lot of 3 wide, maybe 3 wide, sometimes 4 wide in the lower formulas. Everybody's trying to fight onto the brakes. Then you have a little, not a corner, turn right, and then onto the brakes just a little bit again, which is where some of the cars are going to be having their other chance to go for an attack ahead of that Mercedes grandstand. You can send one up on the inside, or you can hold it around to the outside and start yourself up for a inside line coming out of that corner onto the drag strip, and then it's into Mobile 1 corner, very fast right-hander, and entering the arena.
Yeah, and this is where it gets properly narrow, as you can see from the track map. All of a sudden, we go from pretty much, 3 lanes to about 1. It's really very narrow, but can be good fun as well. And Sachs corner is very much a fun corner. And then the final 2 as well, got to be careful of the curbs as well there. I think the final corner, I think we've, in the F4s, everyone was going off on every single lap. It was absolutely crazy. I think the drivers are going to be a bit more cautious in these cars, more power to deliver, and so be a bit more desperate to stay on the black stuff. There is the 16 corners of this Hockenheim circuit, and the drivers are just transitioning over to their qualifying session. Everyone else on circuit by themselves, so we don't have any class conflict, and they've got 10 minutes to put in 4 laps, which I think they will complete all 4 of those laps. It sort of depends what run plan they go for. They might do 2 laps and then decide to go back to the pits and kind of lose a lap and then use their 4th lap after that, or they might just do all 4 in a row. But we are currently seeing the first few drivers come about halfway through the circuit at the moment. Unfortunately, a bit of a depleted P2 field tonight, Austin. We've only got the 7 of them, apologies, out here, but we have got a decently sized P1 field. Usually we have 7 or 8, and we've got 7 again. But the big omission is just the lack of P2 Pro drivers. We've got a super competitive championship, and yet only 2 of the pros are here, so real opportunity for that to be shook up a little bit after tonight.
I think everybody with the drop week, they saw this round, and the last time P2s came here on iRacing was back in 2021. I think season 3 of 2021, or it was a long time ago since the LMP2s have came here, either a part of their own series, ILMS, or just IMSA. And so most of these guys are not comfortable around here, these LMP2s, and LMP1s I think have been around here a little bit more. But the LMP2s have had a depletion of participation around here. So I'm guessing they all just saw that. There's like, we're just not going to show up. And also I think real life is kind of funneled around this time. I know a lot of people are going to be at events this weekend, Goodwood Festival Speed. is going on this weekend. There's a holiday in Sweden going on. If you're American, the 6 hours of the Glen, if you live up there, is going on right now. I know a few friends of mine are up there at the moment, and you know, it's kind of a perfect recipe for just an entire class to just not show up right now. But yeah, it's unfortunate that the field has kind of dropped away, but I'm expecting next week for them all to be back.
Yeah, we'll hopefully see that the case, and of course there are a couple of very competitive championships I think we might be able to yeah, show on screen, which a few of the contenders are not around for tonight, but I can still see the renewal of particularly the P1 championship. Jack Wells back to the top of this one. Now these do include drop scores, so these are a good judge, but it's important to note that, you know, it's not necessarily going to be the case. You really got to take, when drop scores are in play, all the results with a grain of salt, but yeah, it's fairly accurate for these guys. Kraft and Series Subway not around tonight, but Burke has turned up fairly late, so he may well take the lead of the championship. But you can see he's got a bit of catching up to. He's had some bad luck, to be fair, so far this season. Mateus looks very strong at Daytona in particular, but unfortunately was involved in an incident, but he's got an opportunity to make up some points. And in the AMs, we have got most of these guys around. We've got Shuri, we've got Mork, Cathode, and Marks as well, and that has really closed up in the last few rounds. Cathode in particular on a strong run of form, and Shuri as well getting some good results, so pretty competitive in that one. As you can see, in fact, Austin, top 3 in the P2 AM, separated by less than 200ths of a second.
That is really tight, and that is really optimized. Top 3, 200ths of a separation between Sorensen, Mork, and Shuri. These top 3 are going to be an absolute highlight reel out there in these LMP2s, and honestly, I'm expecting them to go an entire hour with each other. Now, I will not be surprised if these 3 go an entire hour with each other. They will have some separation with the LMP1s, but the field is not that big with them, so I'm expecting them to be able to work together and fight with each other throughout this entire race. And you know, we got Grosseto as well in the LMP2 Pros. Only 2 LMP2 Pros. I'm not expecting the LMP2 Pros to be much of a factor in the LMP2 AMs. Honestly, if it were up to me, I would just ask the Pros to start from the pit lane and just join this fight with them, start from the back, and you know, just have a little bit of fun right here, because the rest of that class is not here. But hey, when points mean prizes, and most of the people who are not going to be able to score points are here, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, and Cassetto's had a tricky start to this season. He's right on the cusp actually of being an amateur driver. I think his I rating is just on the limit, but he's certainly got the pace of a pro driver. He is currently ahead of the AMs, 3 tenths ahead of Sorensen. Just a reminder as well that the drivers do score points for their overall position in their car class. So the P2s don't need to beat the P1s, but the P2 AMs want to beat the P2 Pros. So there's an incentive to finish your overall class winner, or car class winner, when possible. A few tires just coming in. Lewis Araya lighting up the time board. That was 3 purple sectors, 1.1 seconds clear of the rest. Matt Loveridge currently in P4. Lockie Brown is on his last lap at the moment, but his sector times are not very good. So maybe he might get on the front row, Brown, but a driver who has dominated this season. Super good car, one of the best LMP1 drivers in the world. But yeah, not finding it all his own way last week at Watkins Glen when he crashed out from the lead, and not having his own way this week either.
Yeah, it's the same story with the LP2s. The LP1s haven't ran here in a long time, so everybody's kind of in that learning curve. And I was talking with Luis before this race. He hasn't had a lot of practice around here, like he usually does. He says that usually I had to show up and I just give it my all. And well, he certainly left it all on the track right there. I believe he's just very comfortable with Hockenheim, as we see Lockie Brown come across the line. He gave a wiggle. He certainly thought that was it all, but he's not happy with that lap. 7 tenths behind Luis Araya, Lockie Brown in that Audi. But yeah, Luis put down a stormer of a lap right there. We are looking at Kofed. purple in Sector 2, heading into the final corner. Right there, that double right-hander, usually just driven as a one corner in these cars, comes across the line and improves to a 126.7, 2/10, but man, is really running that thing. Leverage, though, green in Sector 2, purple in Sector 1, through the hairpin, the banked corner, dancing through this sector, and I gotta say, in this LMP1 car, it feels like you're entering warp speed right now, heading out of that final corner, using all the track, all the curb, all the runoff, comes across the line. Do we have a new pole position? No, we don't. Misses out by half a second. Leverage in P2 in the P1s, and I believe that's wrapped up qualifying right there because Kofed is out on track, but I believe has stopped his car.
Yes, and had used all his laps and wasn't going to get round to the checker flag in time. So he's well and truly not going to poop. Interestingly, Jack Wells, championship leader, hasn't set a time, and that is because he has a qualifying ban. He was involved in an incident last week, and so Wells, kind of doing what you were suggesting, Austin, beforehand, of saying how the P2 pros need to drop to the back and give the P2 AMs an advantage. Wells was thinking about that last week and decided to pick himself up a penalty and start from the back. So here is the grid. Luis Araya, who was fastest in practice and fastest in qualifying, but do not underestimate Matt Loveridge and Lucky Brown. I think they'll be getting faster and faster as the race goes on. Josh Lane starts in 4th position, Hilner Wilhelmsen in 5th, and it's Roberto De Filippis and Jack Wells in 7th place after serving that quali ban. Wells very much in contention for the race win. In the top of the P2s, you got Grassetto. He was a few tenths of a second clear of Sorensen, and then Shuri, Mork, and Kavode, those three going for the championship. And then you've got Burke, who's got an opportunity at gaining back some points tonight. Justus Marks and Paul Joseph Klist rounds out the field, and the Jazz are just gridding up at the moment. They grid up just before the stadium section, so it won't be long until we see that green flag.
Yeah, and Matthias Burke is qualifying. I don't believe he did a qualifying lap, so he'll be at the back of the grid, and his classmate, Fabio Grassetto, is going to be leading them off. So, the P1 pros are kind of separated a lot. Grassetto is going to be leading them off in the LP2s. It's going to be kind of a messy start because that top 3, the P2 AMs, is very tightly packed and going to be very excited to watch this. And I'm going to be honest, I'm buzzing to see what they do and how that fight's going to go. The LMP1s around here, it's going to be all about strategy and how they know this course and how consistent that they can be around here, because it's one thing to nail down a qualifying lap, it's another thing to nail down a lap for an entire hour.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so will be a good test for these drivers. And yeah, if you're watching along and you're thinking, oh, it's not many cars, do watch along. I think we're going to have a competitive race in both classes. I'm not sure who's going to win in either one, so do keep tuned. And yeah, we should have a good hour of racing. Wells, actually starting from the pits then. So
I think he's
got even more work to do.
I think he knows turn 1. He's seen the everyone's seen the chaos at turn 1, and I think one of the drivers has seen the chaos of that cone at the Mobile 1 corner, as that one just got yeeted across into the sand to be picked up by a trophy truck whenever the Apex Trophy Truck Series returns back then. And this is the home of the ARL Trophy Truck Series, and a lot of fun around here.
Excellent Week 13 event that we had.
Yeah, we need to start streaming those.
Yes. Oh, it was such a great fun. I had a smile on my face all night. Here we go. Araya from the pole position. The start zone is just after the green curb on the left. And it stops thinning out, so you'll see it just thin out a little bit further down. And pretty much from here, we can go green. And we are going green, but now there's contact.
Leverage.
And that's going to be a lot of damage potentially to a few cars. Let's hope we don't see so much chaos in the P2s. Not many changes of position, though, in those P1s initially. In the P2s, Grassetto leaving it a very long time. Leaves it right to the line, and in fact, that's a very strong start for the 229.
Oh,
they're going to go 3 wide.
I said, contact.
Turn 1, and there's immediately contact. That's spinning turning around is Jake Shuri, one of our championship contenders. Has he hit the wall? I think he's hit the wall a bit, but he might be able to continue till his pit stop, but he's got a long, long way to go. So huge shame for the TNT Esports driver, but it's Grisette leading the way. Polestar as well for Sorensen, I think also made contact in that instant.
So that entire start sequence in the LP1s, Luis Araya waited just a little bit. Matt Loveridge on the outside was trying to snipe Araya right there, but Araya didn't go, and they kind of checked up the entire outside line. When Loveridge broke, Araya went for it. And it's a perfect slinky effect right there, and contact with a few of the LP1s. The LP2s, well, they were just waiting for Grisette to go, and the inside row had a great launch on the outside, and they brought it 3 wide right there, and 3 wide through turn 1 is never a smart idea. It is a smart idea if you're in a Formula V, but these cars are wider, as wide as 3 Formula Vs pretty much, as they go side by side through the 1x1 corner. Around the outside is Mork on Kofed. Kofed trying to hold it around the outside again, the 131. He is around the outside, but unable to do it. As Matthias Burke, that's Burke actually, the pro in the air. Burke sends it down to the inside. They push each other off wide into the final corner, and now Kofed is under pressure by Sorensen. Chaos in the LP2s.
Yeah, rapid racing through the stadium section that time round. We've got Marks. I thought he was going to the pits there, but he's just glitching out slightly. Is Marks up the way. Brian was able to get ahead of Loveridge, who's down 2
Burke did
places
go into the pits
so far, but yeah, Burke having to.
I think he's
involved in that instant.
Burke sent it down to the inside and pushed the car wide. I think something happened at turn 1 because I think he's just towed into the pit lane. So I think Burke has just had an incident because Kofed is back to where he is in the overall standings in 3rd place, as Sorensen and Paul Klist are back to their 1, 2, 3 running, and 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Yeah, Burke is in the pit lane, so we're gonna get a issue. What's going on? Marks is speaking of issues. Marks's internet is blinking faster, blinking like a faulty wiring job on a circuit board. As there's Matt Loveridge. Surprised he doesn't have any damage in the rear. No, he does. Look at the rear of that car.
Yeah, that comment didn't age well, did it, Austin? But he has been able to get past Will Hamilton. Oh, no. Maybe that's the damage, clearly.
Yeah, it doesn't have that downforce at the end of that car to really get around there. But, yeah, it lasted about 1/10 of a second.
So Wilhelmsen will move back ahead, and of course this is the classic thing that we see in the LMP1s. The judge will be deploying the boost manually, and Wilhelmsen now missing the corner. I don't think either of them want this P3. Here comes now on the boost Loveridge, but Wilhelmsen able to cover off any attack. And Philippus just behind these guys. Wells now 10 seconds behind these drivers and matching the leader's pace. So that's the catching up that Wells has got to do. And in fact, I think Philip is having a bit of an issue up there. Wells is now ahead. Here's Jake Shuri after that crash earlier on. He has just got past Paul Joseph Klist. I think he can see the straight line disadvantage that Shuri has got. I assume from damage, albeit, at least from what I see, Austin, I don't see much damage on Shuri's car.
Yeah, I think Shuri was on the very inside of that incident, so he would have had the least amount of it. The car that went onto the outside...
I think the car on the outside was Shuri, wasn't it?
It was Shuri? I don't believe it was Shuri.
At least he was the one who spun. And I just assumed that the car on the outside would come out worse than that way. And we might get a Chopo replay of that instant. Because
I thought it was Marks who hit the wall.
No, I think Marks got through it all right. But, well, we're not quite sure. But certainly, well, no, I'm certainly sure that that Shuri was the one who hit the wall. But I don't think it was too hard. At least there was Marks being able to get
Marks
through
had an incident.
Just had a good view of it.
Yeah, Marks had an incident later on, and that's under braking. I think that's even more hurtful right there for Marks. Missing the braking point, locked up the rears, goes around, and the spin out the front. This was Burke, so this is what happened to Burke and why he's towed. Oh, okay, yeah, he's hit the inside curb at turn 1, and ooh, that is a very scary moment right there. for everybody behind Matthias Burke, and Matthias Burke was the second of the 2 LMP2 pros out there. Now we just have Grosseto out there, as Burke is pretty much out of this race, 2 laps down, and well, he had a tow after that. And you know, if I was co-fed Sorensen to Shuri, I'd be saying good riddance. That guy's gone, because he was being a kind of an annoyance to them, especially in that final sector.
Yeah, it's more points for all of them as well. So, and yeah, it doesn't look like Berg is going to re-enter the circuit. I would have thought he'd be back out there by now. I think he was a bit unlucky, Berg, with the way he hit the wall right in the rear corner.
Yeah.
And that probably did in the
drive
abilities of the car. But just do get a faster pack, reminder of that. So if you do pick up damage, you can get back out there. But felt like it was worth the trouble, as well is well, keep an eye on that gap to the leaders. 9.7 seconds. It was 10 seconds of the laps ago. He's just gone 0.2 of a second quicker than the race leader, as Wells. Brown was actually the fastest driver of anyone, but Wells needs to try to get past nice and quick, which he deploys at 1,000 brake horsepower, and he's through into 4th position. And now he's got a few seconds now to catch up to Loveridge up ahead. Yeah,
Wells on a rocket ship. He just needs to keep that car consistently on track, not be making these mistakes, and he'll be able to. It's just that hairpin in these LMP1 cars is very tricky to get these cars slow down and around that hairpin. Some of the drivers are taking it very easily. Some of them are taking it very aggressively, like Wells has been, and missing the corner at times. But Jack Wells in that gap, 9.7 seconds to Luis Araya. Araya 1.6 seconds in the lead. I believe Brown is catching Araya in that Audi, chasing down that Porsche, and that gap's closing down to a second right there. So Brown versus Araya is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it will be. And of course, when you've got different classes, as we're going to see a replay now of what happened to... Unfortunately, I can't see this one, Austin, but...
I remember this. Well, they were all waiting for that start zone, and Matt Loveridge, he saw the start zone. He just went immediately trying to jump Araya, thinking he was going to go right there, but Araya waited. Matt got onto the brakes, and Araya was able to use that to his advantage, but it was kind of a traffic stop situation where everybody was wanting to go, but Loveridge made that mistake of launching before everybody else, and they just kind of crashed into each other, and that allowed Araya to pull off in the lead, and that's what gave Loveridge that damage in the rear, and that's caused that rear instability right there.
Yeah, and he will get that fixed at his pit stop, but he's got to go basically far enough into the race so that he can make that pit stop, which is probably 25 minutes or so. We usually see these LMP1s go about 35 minutes, but yeah, he's got some difficulties from here on in. Certainly he has as Loveridge, as we see Clist battle Marks, who had that spin on lap 1. Marks on that last lap was 0.6 of a second quicker than Clist, so I think he's going to be past nice and quick. It's Clist a little bit slow through the kink, but not slow enough to open up the opportunity to his rival. And this one will go on for a little bit longer, but I think Marks should eventually be able to get past, as I think we have Loveridge versus Wells, only a 1/10 of a second between them, and Loveridge has been caught very quickly. I think he's had a poor lap or something as Loveridge, because that gap has come down extremely quickly.
Yeah, that gap is closing down. Lockie Brown is definitely closing in on Araya, as Jack Wells is closing in. As it's actually fallen away from Araya. I think Wells and Loveridge catching up with each other is starting to hold each other up right there. But here's the fight for the lead of the LMP1s. Brown and Araya separated just by 7/10, and Brown's going to be having that advantage of that draft and the Audi top speed, as the Porsche driven by Araya is going to be really is going to be an advantage throughout the second sector. But here comes Brown. Brown using all that boost right there, going down to the inside. Lockie Brown looking for the lead, gets onto the brakes, and almost locks up the rears right there. I saw the wiggle right there, but Lockie Brown into the lead here at Hockenheimring with 10 minutes on the board.
I think Brown is one of those like AI machines where like you just got to keep him doing it over and over again, and he'll just get faster and faster. Like he's just learning the circuit basically. And
well, we were talking with him, so I know he's not a machine. I think.
Well, I don't know. I feel like you can be fooled by these things.
Well, I have been teaching him how to fly drone kit. Oh no.
You fallen into the trap. Absolutely, this is Terminator all over again. Absolutely fallen into
Well, maybe I'm on the good list, okay?
Maybe. But what about me, Austin? What about me?
Yeah, you teach him a skill. Teach him a skill.
There you go.
Teach them the importance of feet not touching red carpets.
There you go. Us commentators and the broadcasters, you know what we're talking about. It's
inside
it's not.
But Araya retakes the lead right there.
Yes. How did that one happen? So a mistake.
Brown probably went really wide. I'm guessing.
Yeah, he's lost a second in the first sector.
Yep. Araya fake looking out. Oh, he's locked up the brakes. I knew Brown was aggressive on the braking because we saw that wiggle heading into the hairpin. And I'm guessing that Audi is just very aggressive on the brakes, but maybe it's just a little bit too aggressive because that's another mistake we've seen by him onto the brakes right there. And that's allowed Araya back into the lead. And these two are going to be a dicey pair to watch each other as Brown just kisses the wall on the outside.
And Brown did crash twice last week, we should not forget. He crashed out from the lead when he took too much curb, and then crashed out later on in the race after he'd taken his faster pack. So he is vulnerable to a mistake, but I do still think he's probably the favourite overall from this. Anyone who saw the Spa round and the Le Mans round where he won by about a minute in each,
it was ridiculous.
He's very quick, so I think he should get the hang of this circuit by the end of the race, but then he didn't get the hang of Hockenheimring, so you will see on that one. Sorensen is very close to Cathode now.
Here goes Brown again.
It's
well, actually, Brown is he's catching up with these two LMP2s on the outside. Araya's got past him heading into the hairpin. There goes Brown into the brakes. He can't use all the track right there. He had an LMP2 around the outside, but he's catching up with Araya right there as this is the fight for second, Kofed versus Sorensen. Mork is just in his own world right there. There's Thomas, right up on the lead, and I think Mork has had the easiest start out of his three teammates, though he was involved in that three-wide incident at turn one. I think it was the car on the inside that just escaped right there, and he's got an LP1 on this inside of Luis Araya. And he's going to have Lockie Brown very soon. And Brown, I would say this is the toughest spot to be if you're an LP1 right there, because that part of the track very tight. He clobbers the curb right there, getting airborne in that Audi, and that's pushed him back another second to Lockie Brown.
Yeah, but if he hadn't gone for the move, would have probably lost another second on top of that. It was risky, and of course, yeah, you're so concerned about the P2 turning in that, yeah, felt the need to use up all the space on the inside, plus a little bit more over that curb, and unsettling the car. Cathode is, well, of course these two are teammates, so they're not going to go for anything dumb. Sorensen will be saving fuel right now. He did get a decent draft effect in this Dallara P217, so he will be saving nice amounts of fuel, but I think he feels like he's a bit faster, and he is therefore pulling out ahead, leaving so much space to his teammate, and that has absolutely killed his run. And that was not the best overtake that Sorensen has pulled off so far this season, and it's just cost them both time to their teammates and to their rivals behind. Here comes Loveridge a little bit far back, but gets ahead. Behind him is Wells, and Wells' pace, well, to be fair, Loveridge's pace has increased. So Loveridge now in the 19s, half a second slower than Araya on that last lap, but half a second faster than Brown. And Wells isn't really making much of an impression on him right now.
Yeah, Jack Wells, he's kind of just stuck in traffic right there. We're going to be seeing a difference between Wells and Loveridge. Loveridge wanted to go for the move as fast as they can, but oh, Jack, we just saw the brake lights just appear right there. He's just going for moves that he knows that he can make without causing any sort of incident, as Hillner is trying to chase out Jack Wells. He's going to be a clean error right there. that lap much faster than Jack Wells. You just got to be consistent about them and nailing the traffic right now. And that's kind of the game if you're in the LMP1s. As Lockie Brown has fallen 3.6 seconds behind Araya. I think he's had another issue.
Yeah, I think you're right. So on that last lap, he lost 2 seconds in the final sector on that last lap to Brown. To be fair, that could just be traffic.
I believe that was traffic.
Yeah, so I don't think so. He didn't make a mistake, but I mean, you got to give credit to Arrival not losing time during the traffic there. And so Brown, it was all looking good for him, but now he's got some catching up to do with 3/4 of the race remaining. And still the same battles going on out on the circuit. That battle for the lead, the battle between Loveridge and Wells, and also the battle between Cathode and Sorensen currently happening out on circuit. Shout out, by the way, to one of our sponsors, SDK Gaming, for providing our overlay and our live timing and yeah, lots of our software here at Apex Racing. Of course, displaying these fantastic graphics. So many different graphics options that you can use. This software has been around for I think 5 or 6 years and has come on a long way. It's absolutely the best software you can use when it comes to broadcasting, and of course it's great as a heads-up display for whilst you're racing because it has all the relevant information such as a fuel calculator, so you can pull off good strategies whilst you are out on circuit. So thanks to SDK Gaming for helping us out on Apex Racing.
I have to say the best fuel calculator on iRacing. I've nailed strategies so much better with the SDK calculator than any other calculator out there. And yeah, it certainly works for especially in endurance races. It's got how many laps you have left, how much percentage of fuel you have left, how much percentage of fuel you'll be left at the end of the race, and the time you'll have left. So if it's a lap race, if it's a timed race, or if it's just a stint in an endurance race, all data will be there for you with SDK Gaming.
I don't want to. I mean, we all know this as this is getting close now. I'll hang on my boasting for a moment because this is close with P3. Because Wells is, well, he caught 1 second in Sector 1, 3/10 in Sector 2.
Here we go.
And half a second in Sector 3. And now he is ahead. So Loveridge seemed to be pulling away for a couple of laps. And then Wells has put in not a particularly quick lap, but Loveridge, I think, getting caught up in traffic. And Loveridge dropping miles back now. This is very unusual. He has got damage, of course, from lap 1, but I doubt it's that. Maybe different kind of power usage, but he has lost about 5 seconds in about a lap.
I think that Audi might be harvesting energy. Compared to the Porsche, the Audi doesn't regenerate energy on the straightaway. Then this is Josh Lane, one of our LMP1s. Often, he's damaged too. That car is crabbing, and I'm thinking this might be contact with a curb or a wall. There's certainly a lot of damage to the right side of that car. He's on the inside of an LMP2 right here. Gets onto the brakes, and just locks at the rears. It gets, that is unfortunate clobbering right there. The LP2 wasn't expecting him to make that mistake, but that's really messed up that right-hand side of Josh Lane's car, and he's going to be towing into the pits. But who was the LMP2 that hit him?
Ode was the LMP2, and so he's been caught up by Sorensen. But Sorensen, for some reason, has also had... it's not being a great lap for Sorensen, but Cathode had actually been able to pull away slightly then, but due to that incident, lost 2 seconds. And then Sorensen actually did have a very poor second sector, and it's brought Jake Shuri into this. So we now got a three-way battle for P2 in the P2 AMS. Shuri, second place in the championship, going for the championship against Mork. That's his main rival. And Cathode's going for the championship as well, to be fair, but there's certainly very much an interest in the 3J1K racing drivers, keeping behind Shuri as best they can to help their teammate Thomas Moore for that championship effort. So we're riding on board with Shuri, who hasn't necessarily had the pace of these two, but it was a big hit, Austin, for Cathode. I imagine he'll be suffering down these straights.
Yeah, Cathode, the front end of that car is pretty... It looked all right from the glance that we had, but yeah, there's going to be some overlying damage right there as he's now caught by Sorensen. Sorensen looked down to the inside. Can Sorensen make this move that he failed to do this time? And he's covered off the bumper right there. And Sorensen up into second place now, but Kofod, the front looks all right, honestly. But Kofod takes a lot of curb. Sorensen around to the outside, leaves the room right there. And Thomas Sorensen leads it in front of the Mercedes grandstand. This part of the track is honestly one of my favorite overtaking opportunities because it's pretty tight onto the entry. But if you go around the outside right there, that gives you a better line in the corner back because it kind of does a little switchback kind of deal. So it's a very great spot to watch a battle. And speaking of great spots to watch the battle, it can't get better than the arena.
Yeah, and yeah, I think when we were racing the F4s in round 1 of the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship, that area in particular was really good to watch. So that was a fantastic meeting, actually. And
yeah, it was a very
good
fantastic
racing throughout
series.
the track. As Wilhelmsen is off the circuit, so Lane has towed back to the pits, and I'm not sure if he's going to re-enter the track. Lane usually completes all the races, so we'll see on that one. But Wilhelmsen was ahead of De Philippis, and he way too much curb, launching up the car and then struggling to get back going, trying to apply 1,000 brake horsepower on the grass. Actually did a very good job there of recovering that, and he is right back on, well, he's not right back onto the rear of De Philippis. De Philippis, though, only 3 seconds up the road.
Yeah, De Philippis much higher than Wilhelmsen back there, but LMP1 should not be putting their talents and cars into high jump competitions. Curbs are not really a strategy in most of these cars. They're not like touring cars where you can just attack every curb that you can see, because these things will get floor damage, and their suspension is not that to a sports car or a super truck.
Yes. I mean, what you've got to remember, if this was the super truck, he'd be inside of the curb. He would be cutting
different rule set. Different rule set, yeah. No slowdowns, of course. It's just the best format ever, and yeah, hopefully we can do a few more of those events. Loveridge has seemingly got the momentum back. He's very bipolar today, is Loveridge. It's a quick lap, and then it's a slow lap. On that last lap, I think he actually set the fastest lap of anyone. So he's caught back up to the rear of Wells. But these guys now 15 seconds off, and they're not necessarily slower than the lead guys. Like I said, Loveridge just set the fastest lap of the race, but obviously they lost a lot of time in the early stages. Wells starting from the pits, and Loveridge just seemingly making a couple of mistakes in the early stages. And then through the traffic, they seem to have had more issues, as we've got some Buckinghamshire broadband right now, and Wells is under big pressure, and yeah, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hold back on this one. Well, Loveridge is probably thinking to himself, well, this is pretty much awkward right there, because he can't see where Wells is going to be, so he's just going to have to guess or apply all that power down to make that pass where he knows that he can do it, but he's slowing down again. I think this is him just charging up his battery once more as that Porsche Jack Wells pulls off into the distance.
Yeah, lost a lot of time in the first half of that straight. We see lots of overtakes into the Mercedes arena. Of course, you can set it up through the hairpin and then get a better exit and overtake, but Loveridge isn't going to pass here. But of course, in these P1 cars, you've constantly got to be, keeping an eye on your mirrors, because the driver behind could deploy their energy at any point, even through the stadium section, and pull off an unexpected overtake. Mork, not under pressure of any overtakes at the moment. He is 5.8 seconds clear of his teammates. Did lose a couple of tenths on that last lap. Sorensen now in clean air, of course, and Kofod and Shuri are actually a long way off Sorensen, so I don't know if that's Kofod defending or whether that's the damage coming to the fore, but he has lost a lot of time to his teammate in just a couple of laps. Look at this.
Marks, well, he's avoiding the contact right there as Wells was attacking and defending down to the inside. Loveridge followed him right there. But the fight for third between these two is really on fire right now, as they are putting it all on the line. Jack Wells and that Porsche Loveridge. Last lap, we saw him charge up the boost. Are we going to be seeing him use the boost right now? I think they're both using the boost down the straightaway. That Audi is much quicker than that Porsche is all up in that draft. Going down to the inside of the track, now goes for the outside of the track, forcing Jack Wells to defend onto the inside. Are we going to be seeing the switchback from that Audi? No, it's not going to be right there during the middle of the corner, but heading into the Mercedes section, that Audi is closing in. on that Porsche. Can leverage, find that opportunity, heading to the Mercedes Hairpin. No, it's not going to be right there as they continue on in third and fourth, but these two are having a fantastic fight for third between each other.
Yeah, this is good stuff right now. Leverage again, he's put Wells offline. And these guys continue to lose time to the race leaders. They lost another second on that last lap. It's very much a two-horse race now for the overall race win. As a Riot, he's losing a bit of time as well. On that last lap, he lost 0.2 of a second, did the race leader. And the gap's back down to 0.7 of a second. We're nearly halfway through this round 6 of the championship. Reminder that Wells currently leads the championship. Brown missing a couple of rounds already this season, or missing one round, I believe, and not finishing another round. He's left himself a lot of catching up to do. Wells has also missed a round, to be fair, but very much the Australian, the second favourite for the title at the moment, could very much do with a race win and make up a chunk of points tonight. But Wells managing to limit the damage at the moment. Gap down to half a second now. It's been a good lap so far for the Australian.
Yeah, fantastic lap so far for Lockie Brown. He's seeing the traffic up ahead, and he can see that it's coming into the rough spot. The Australian's internet has dropped out just a little bit, but that traffic is holding up right in the perfect spot for Lockie Brown. And Luis Araya is going to have to get very creative how he's overtaking them, but he was overtaking heading into the corner, and Brown's going to be overtaking on the straightaway, but Brown's not going to be able to reach that LP2 through turn 1. But I would say that would be a good news if you're Lockie Brown, because turn 1's not as impactful as that final corner is if you send one down to the inside. But that gap has pretty much stayed the same between these two, as Shuri and Kofed are fighting for third in class. It's not third overall. Grosseto is still leading the race. It's just the majority of the amateur class is ahead of the LMP2 Pro class. Yes, it is 2 cars. So our timing software has put the P2 AMs above the P2 Pros. That is not the overall positioning. That is just in class. Grosseto is still leading the overall LMP2 race by about 8 seconds.
Yeah, Grosseto, just solid right now, isn't he? Really solid. It's a Scania endurance motorsport driver. Not sure how much of a chance he'll have at the championship after tonight. He might have a little bit of a chance now. It's a lot of points that you get for a race win. And he's just done his personal best lap of the race, burning the fuel.
Fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, you're right. Yep, fastest lap of the race. I was too thick to realise. Hang on, if it's that it won't come up purple.
Purple's overall, green is personal best.
Yes. Well, at least on my screen, it's come up as green, but obviously that's within class. So. Did it come up on purple on your screen?
It came up on purple on the overlay.
Oh, okay. There you go. I'm not looking at the race. That's my problem. Half second faster than Mork. We've established he's the professional here. De Philippis is a long way behind, but still ahead of Wilhelmsen. Is Wilhelmsen catching a bit? Well, a second on that last lap too there was Wilhelmsen, so that one will close up by the end of the race. That you can see, love this graphic. And it's actually been a bit ebbing and flowing. Remember, Wilhelmsen had a spin a few laps ago. I think De Philippis may have had a spin very early in the race as well. So, but yeah, I assume these guys will get fairly close to one another by the end of the race again. And also good news for Morten Kofod fans. He seems to have found his pace back. He's back matching the leader right now. So yeah, Kofod looking all right now in P3 in the P2 rounds.
Yeah, pit stops should be starting right now. Yeah, Paul Kliss, first one into the pits. And Paul had a pretty rough start to this race. Hopefully the next part of the race will be going good. No tires, it's just all fuel and go for Paul. And it was pretty 50-50 race strategy right there. Pulled into the pits at 29:52. And the last time that these cars came here, we had a pit kerfuffle incident happened with a LP1 and LP2s. I remember an LP1 went down to the inside of LP2s on the pit in road, like they were all trying to race into the pit in, and he pulled a kind of Sebastian Vettel move where he was going faster than them on the pit in, activated his brakes a little bit later. He got to the speed limit, but they were side by side, and the LP2 crossed over his nose and caused a crash in the pit lane, which I believe is the first time I've seen a pit lane crash in an Apex Racing League event. I do not believe we're going to be seeing that, but the last time that the Prototype Championship came here, we had that happen, and it was a big talking point with pit lane who should go first type situations.
I didn't quite understand the pit lane rules because you do sometimes crash into another driver, don't you? And then sometimes you merge through. So I'm not quite sure
it was before the pit boxes happened.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, and the LP2
it was still in the pit lane.
Yeah, it was still in the pit lane, but it was before the boxes, and the LP2 that was stuck on the outside, well, his pit was one of the first pits, and the LP1 that was on the inside, he just kept going, and it was pretty much a pit maneuver into the pits. Not even trying to make a pun right there, but that literally what happened, and I remember that happening. I was like, that was the strangest things I've seen in the box, and very memorable one. I think that race turned out pretty well. I don't know if they were leading, though. I don't think that was the leader.
It would be interesting, wouldn't it, to have car contact all the time in the pits. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. It'd be chaos. Chaotic. But it could maybe be some good strategy. Do you come in on the same lap as others? As Loveridge, oh no!
Oh!
He was P4. What has happened? He was catching up. Well, he was kind of keeping tabs. He hasn't run out of fuel, has he?
Oh, he's run out of fuel.
Engine still seems to be running. Maybe we could get another replay of that, maybe on his onboard, see if he was sputtering at all prior.
I don't know. I think it's yeah, I think that's out of fuel, or it's just something happened. It's just he just stopped. I think that just might turn into a thing of real life having to interrupt sim racing at times, because I know some of us, we race like this is real life at times, and we just shut off the entire world around us. But you know, sometimes things happen. Somebody's at the door, or you know, they put the priorities and say this is just a virtual experience and a real life experience, and had to hop off.
Yeah, I think that's probably what happened. So that is a shame, because that was a good battle for P3. Gives Wells some respite, and we'll see. Well, oh no, I've been saying that. I said this earlier on when it was 10 seconds. I said, watch out for Wells. He might win this. Keep an eye on the 21 seconds here. He's not going to catch up unless there's an issue with the cars ahead. But let's see if he can keep it down a little bit, and then he can say afterwards that he was the fastest driver, because we've still got half the race to go. And still the top two very much pushing each other to the max. Araya with the advantage at the moment. Quick shout out as well to Apex Racing Academy, another one of our sponsors for this series. Apex Racing Academy offering, I think, over 30 data packs now for many different cars. The P2 is one of them, along with single-seaters, rallycross cars, the touring cars as well, and lots of others on iRacing. So if you want to get faster on iRacing, do go get yourself a subscription. A range of plans varying between I think it's €5 a month to or £5 a month, sorry, to well,
one car.
Yeah, that's for the one car, and then you can get all the cars for just £10 a month, I believe. So yeah, lots of stuff available with Apex Racing Academy. Do check out apexracingac.com to get yourself a subscription.
And free group coaching sessions each week by all the coaches and the community. So you hop in there. If you watch the track guide, but you still want to find out just a little bit more, the coaches will lend you their knowledge and give you all the knowledge that they have over at Apex Racing Academy in those group coaching sessions. Big, I would say the big part of that thing, because sometimes they just turn to free one-on-one coaching And they do offer one-on-one coaching. They're actually having a 50% off deal, so 50 pounds an hour for one-on-one personalized coaching over there on Apex Racing Academy. Trust me, it is really worth it. My plus 1,000 I rating from last season is definitely worth that right there.
Yes.
And actually, Sam, we have Matt Loveridge waiting in the interview waiting area, so we can ask him what all went down right there.
It's an excellent idea. Let's drag him up. Matt, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. We don't usually do mid-race interviews, but we thought we may as well anyway. Thanks for having a chat with us. Yeah, let us know what happened with that hardware failure.
I believe it's a suspected EMI issue, as my steering wheel would sometimes not shift or boost straight on its own, even after letting go of the button. And at other points during the race, the entire steering wheel failed to do anything, and I just had to retire the race based on safety reasons for the other races. A shame. I didn't want this to happen, and it's come at the worst possible time.
Is a shame. I was very disappointed because you're having a cracking battle with Jack. Have you got any ideas who was the faster out of you two? Because it looked like whoever was trailing seemed to just have the pace all of a sudden.
I think both of us are definitely on pace, without a doubt. I mean, we were definitely trading blows in terms of speed in certain corners as well as the use of boost. It's I don't know. I think we are on even ground when it comes to speed.
Next week we have got Mosports. That's not a track that you necessarily think of when it comes to the P1s, but what are your thoughts on that circuit?
Well, a roller coaster of a circuit, mainly built for GT racing, sports car racing. It's quite blind, it's very hilly, but I reckon it can produce some excellent racing in all classes. It's quite a tight circuit, and if someone does go off, it's quite perilous due to the blind nature of the track. There's a lot of walls and a lot of hills, so it's going to be a very, very interesting race to see.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you the best of luck for that one, Matt. Hopefully you resolve any of those hardware failures and we can see you back on the podium next week.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. I'll hopefully see you next week.
Matt Loveridge there, unfortunately retiring from this race here at Hockenheim, but I get to have a chat with him mid-race as we've got a few more pit stops going on. Our P1 leader has come into the pits, but Lockie Brown letting it go for one more lap, and maybe Austin, this could be an opportunity for the Indy Autosport driver to make an attack for the race win.
Yeah, Arai went into the pits. That time was in the box for 14.43 seconds. His total lap time, his total pit box time from pit in to a pit out was 33.67 seconds. So I'm expecting Brown to hop in there right there, hop into the pits right now to just try to cover off Araya. And oh, he was kind of indecisive around there. Took a wider line entry and just used the corner to his advantage. And took it as a more tightening entry into there. Almost crossed over the line. We don't have that yellow bollard, but did his car just bounce in the pit lane?
Yeah, I think there must be a bump. It's not quite as bad as Snetterton, where it's like going over the Alps when you're in the pit boxes, but I think it must be something similar to that. Here comes Araya. Keep an eye on what the pit stop time is. Oh, it's quick for Brown. He's 2 seconds quicker. This is going to be neck and neck, I think, on the pit exit. Is Brown ahead? I think he's already out of the pits.
He's already out. Brown's in the lead.
Will be up to pace, but Brown is clear, so that is a big change. It was about a second and a half in hand for Orion. Now it's a second and a half in hand for Brown. And it's the Norwegian who's going to have to make the overtakes on circuit.
But Lockie Brown with 12.35 seconds stopped in the box. How much fuel does he have left for this race? Does he have enough to finish this race? Because he definitely short pitted to stay ahead of Luis Araya. His total lap from pit in to pit out was about 2.5 seconds faster than Luis Araya right there, but his stopped in the box was 2 seconds faster as well. So we gained all of it while stationary, and we got to see if he has enough fuel for it to for that car to stay ahead, or we'll just get pretty tight near the end. As this is Thomas Mort entering and exiting the pits. Currently the LMP2 amateur race leader just gets right ahead of Justice Marks as the car behind him.
Very quick in the pit stop in that one, Mork. If you look at the times, Austin, you can see Mork 18 seconds. We might even be able to share that on the overlay potentially, but 18 seconds for Mork.
It's overall pit time right here. But yeah, 37.9 total time, 42.4 for Sorensen. And everybody's in the 40s as Mork pit in to pit out, 37.9. So very good lap, but, you know, later in the race, the less fuel that you need to put into the car. But did he put in enough to make it to the end? It's 19 minutes remaining now, so that time, if you have the SDK game, it's going to be live updating saying, hey, yeah, this amount of fuel. But if you get to 59.40 minutes and the LMP1 crosses the line, you're going to be another line. This is Jake Shuri losing the back end in the arena. And he's got to keep those rear wheels. Don't get beached on that curb. That's so easy to do. And Jake, that is unfortunate right there.
They lost 7 seconds, I think, to Cafade. He was close to Cafade, stayed behind him during the pit stop sequence, and is now still behind. De Philippis just ahead of Wilhelmsen. These guys have been very evenly matched. This has been a fairly good battle ever since Wilhelmsen had that spin, gave up that 4th position. It has turned into 4th position due to Loveridge's hardware failure earlier on in the race. Wilhelmsen, usually fairly cautious, I think. He knows he's got time to make this move, but even if he did make it, I don't think it'd be conclusive. Catching a lot of time. What has happened to Brown? We have got Orion back in the lead. I think Brown, maybe a small mistake through Sector 1, or maybe some traffic. But now
Brown's
they are
now ahead of Orion now.
So they are having a battle currently out in the race lead, and I think it's just who's deploying the boost. There was some boost deployed by Orion. He was able to get ahead, but it's now Brown who responds. Who's going to be willing to deploy more boost here? Yeah,
switch up by Orion right there. He's attempting to do the switchback, and it didn't happen for Orion to get that move made, but Brown versus Orion, this is what we've been talking about throughout the day. Orion has closed that gap to Lockie Brown, who had a 1.5 second gain from his pit stop, from that short pit. But now, you see Orion flashing lights. I don't think he's going to be happy with Lockie Brown and the defending he might be doing because he was ahead, and then Brown got ahead again, but Orion all over that gearbox right now. Porsche versus Audi, Brown versus Orion, and Luis all over that gearbox as they head through that final sector right now. They have the 209 up ahead of them. Lapped car, and this is going to be Lockie Brown attacking at turn 1. That lapped car breaks on the racing line. Orion had to take a much entry, but Brown clobbers the curb on the outside and got upset of it just a little bit, so doesn't gain a lot from right there. So Orion still all over that Audi, and he's going to be getting a lot of draft unless Brown deploys all the boost right here, and I think that's what's happening because Brown shoots off into the distance from Luis Orion.
So he got battles, and I did say this before the race started. Stay tuned, because I wasn't sure who was going to win out of the P1s or the P2s. P1 battle separated by 1 second. P2 lead battle separated by 2 seconds between Morg and Grassetto. So this is going to be a good conclusion to this race. 16 minutes to go. By the way, I'm not sure if they're still watching along, because they did send their messages earlier on, but thanks to Ant Cambridge and JMA Phillips for chatting on the YouTube chat, supporting Mr. Jack Wells, who's now having quite a dull race to be fair, but yes, he is in 3rd position.
Well, unless these two have a absolute calamity up in front, Jack Wells' dull race might turn into a cracker of a race very soon. But, you know, with the lapped cars right down to the inside at turn 1, heading into turn 1, Orion. Oh, Orion took a lot of inside curb on the inside and then the outside. It's definitely not a comfortable ride on the inside of that Porsche. Orion filling the mirrors, looking down to the inside of Lockie Brown, trying to force him to make a mistake on the brakes that we've been seeing Brown make throughout the race so far. But it seems like Browns has fixed that issue. as he's just using the deployment of the Audi on the straightaway to pull away from Araya, because Araya's been gaining throughout Sector 2 and Sector 3, but Blocky Brown has just been pulling away in the first sector, and that's pretty much all he needs. It's kind of like the Alpine strategy at Baku. Just focus on the straightaway, can't pass in the lower section, so hey, you gotta deal with it. So Araya's gonna have to get the elbows out in that final sector and stick a nose in there if he wants to go for that lead. But first he needs to catch up to Blocky Brown, because Brown is definitely got that car hooked up, but does he have enough fuel? That is always going to be a question.
Yeah, it'll be close, won't it? And of course, like, sometimes you can predict that you're going to have one less lap than another driver. We haven't really had any close scenarios like that so far this season, where it's come down to like within 10 seconds, but this could be something that happens tonight potentially. As Araya, yeah, it's just fascinating to see them deploy the energy in different places. Half a second, a little bit too far back to go for a move, Araya, but then, I mean, if he deployed all this battery right here down the straight, obviously he'd overtake, but you can see Brown there,
yeah,
just by the gap. You can see it visually, just deploying loads of the battery, but that will close back in by the end of the lap. Still close between Wilhelmsen and De Philippis. Where is De Philippis going there? Trying to get past the P2 car. I think that was Paul Joseph Bliss that they were just getting past on that occasion, so they didn't lose much time to the Italian driver. Wilhelmsen starting to run out of laps a little bit. Still got 13 minutes remaining here at Hockenheim.
Yeah, 13 minutes remaining, and you know, they're close to being lapped by Blocky Brown and Araya, because they've just they're on the exit of that turn right there, so there's just a few corners behind Wilhelmsen and De Philippis right now, and that's about 8 seconds separating them from being a lap down from Brown and Araya. And when these two go to lap them, that might raise a little heads, make them think twice about some overtakes, and might give the advantage to Luis Araya, or offer up some kerfuffle of an issue for Blocky Brown, or Luis Araya, or Wilhelmsen and De Philippis. It's still all up in the air as De Philippis defending down to the inside. Wilhelmsen looking onto the outside. Oh, he's preparing that switchback move right there, but it's just too far back to really capitalize off that move happening. But Roberto De Philippis up into fourth, and 1 minute and 11 seconds separating him from Blocky Brown and Luis Araya, who are having that dog of a fight going on right there. Just a little bit of a momentarily lapse in that fight, but I can certainly tell you when this thing hits about 5 minutes to go, that track position is all going to close up on each other.
Yeah, it's gonna get aggressive when it comes to the end. Brown, of course, with a few race wins so far this season. I don't think Araya has got a race win so far this season, so he's very much due for it. Yeah, De Philippis and Wilhelmsen as well will be desperate for that. In terms of the battle for the P2 overall victory, I know that the overlay doesn't... You wouldn't necessarily look at the time and think there's a battle for the overall P2 victory, but there is one, because you've got Gossetto, who's the leader in the P2 Pros, battling Mork, who's in the P2 AMS. There's currently 2 seconds between those two. We'll keep you updated on that gap, but Mork maintaining that gap at about 2 seconds behind. In fact, he did actually make up... yeah, he didn't make up much time. He actually lost 7/100ths of a second. Gossetto with the fastest lap of the race. I did see it in purple that time, Austin, at least. And he is... well, that's a very strong time. But very strong time for Mork. I think it was not far off the best lap of the race for Mork either, so... He's still motoring along nicely. Every battle behind that in the P2s seemingly coming to a conclusion. Sorensen with a good gap over Cathode, and ever since that Shuri mistake matching Cathode, but he lost 8 seconds due to that spin, did Shuri, and he's now 8 seconds behind Cathode.
Yeah, Cathode falling back just a little bit from Sorensen. Sorensen trying to, well, he's just pushing right now, and all these teammates, they all enter this race with a single mindset. They had that little bit of an issue at the start of this race. They're definitely going to be talking about starting procedures, especially at turn 1 here at Hockenheimring. It's always a, I would say Hockenheimring turn 1 is probably the most famous turn 1 for calamities outside of Monaco turn 1, because everyone's like, you know, Hockenheim turn 1, it's very tight, it's very sudden, and there's always going to be that risk for a giant issue. You know, everyone says take it easy to St. Devat. Well, this is take it easy into Hockenheimring turn 1, because that corner is famous for big oopsies at times. I believe it was Schumacher.
Yeah, 2000.
Yeah, that got absolutely destroyed right there.
And Massa did some flips in 2014. I think Raikkonen got taken out in 03.
Max Verstappen had a poor start back in 2019, I believe.
Oh, what, in the wet race? Yeah,
in the wet, dry, wet race. One of the greatest German Grand Prix I've ever seen. I think that's the most replayed race recently that I keep replaying outside of Abu Dhabi 2021 on F1 TV. And I gotta say, that race is still a classic, even if I'm a Ferrari fan.
Yes, but yeah, less said about that. The better. As Graham.
No, that's 2017 I'm talking about.
Oh, sorry, what was that? 2017.
Hockenheimring is a fantastic track. Pretty much every race that we've seen there the last 10 years have been amazing. When they've had a race.
Yes. And always brings the changeable weather. And hopefully that'll be going to iRacing soon as well soon. But we'll see on that one. 1.2 seconds now. The gap. Matched each other on the last lap. Did the two leaders. Gassetti now 2.7 seconds ahead of Mork. Looking a bit more comfortable. He just pulled out by 0.4 of a second. So Gassetti looking good for this race victory at the moment. I will just give another shout out, in fact, to Virtual Racing School, another one of our sponsors. Virtual Racing School offering 50+ data packs for road and oval racing, setups, track guides, data analysis software, and one-on-one coaching as well. So do check out virtualracingschool.com in order to get a subscription.
Yeah, Virtual Race School, also a great tool, and it also ties in with Apex Racing Academy with your bronze and silver subscriptions. You can compare your lap times with the coach's lap times with Virtual Racing School's timing software. You will need a Virtual Racing School membership as well as an Apex Racing Academy to get those lap files all locked in with each other, but it's a fantastic tool to see where the coaches are applying the throttle and where you are applying the throttle and where you can improve on your lap time with that Virtual Racing School software right there. And I gotta say, fantastic software.
Absolutely. As
Brown versus Riot.
It's down under a second. I mean, it's ebbing and flowing as we'd expect it, sector by sector. Sector 1 on this lap. Orion 10th of a second quicker. Sector 2, half a tenth slower. And then, of course, we're midway through Sector 3. Marks and Clist have swapped positions. What has happened?
Marks is,
I thought they changed position. Maybe I'm making things up. I thought I saw them change on the time tower. I think it's just him glitching out. I think it's.
I think he's glitching out because Clist is another lap down on Marks.
Yeah.
So.
I looked at them, and there's about a minute between them. So,
I think both of us are just so in tune with this fight that any sort of change that we see on the timing tower is making us freak out just a little bit. As well, Lockie Brown, that car ahead of him is an LMP1. That's De Filippis as they just passed Jake Shuri right there. So, this is going to be interesting to see on how they attack Roberto right here.
Yeah, and this isn't going to be as easy as it is usually with the P2s. So we'll have to think about this one a bit, but Roberto will be a little bit behind them. They can catch up in a difficult area of the circuit.
Yeah, Roberto is, but he's going to see that his class is right behind him. So he's either going to be pulling off to the side or letting it by, but yeah, they're catching him right here. This is great for Luis Araya because I'm expecting De Filippis to pull over after this straightaway, but he's going to pull over right there, right in front of Lockie Brown. Just stays onto the outside, and that's going to allow Luis Araya to close that gap down to half a second, or De Filippis, not helping the Audi at all of Lockie Brown, but Luis Araya right onto that gearbox with under 5 minutes to go, right on that bumper, and I'm expecting that Audi to deploy that boost that Brown has been doing just on point as always on that straightaway. And yeah, there goes Brown off into the distance, improving that half a second gain to a full second right there, and leaving Araya with Kofed right ahead of him on the apex of that hairpin, and that's not helping Araya at all. Araya needed to get onto that boost now and use that Porsche power to try to chase down Lockie Brown, as there's chaos happening behind him. De Filippis, Kofed, and I believe Marks going 3 wide for that corner in one of the cars. I think that was De Filippis going miles wide and almost taking the outer layout here at the Hockenheimring. Have you tried the outer layout?
I've never raced it, but I remember the IR01 series, the World Championship series, did use the outer layouts, and it is cool.
It cuts out that Mercedes hairpin, so it's not a full. It's not a full outside layout.
It's not classic, is it? It's not the pre-2002 layout.
It does cut out one of the additions from the 2000 update, which is that Mercedes grandstand corner, but it leaves in the arena, which it was always there. You know, I prefer everyone prefers the forest thing, but you know, for sports car racing, this update makes Hockenheimring a great circuit for all cars. Hockenheimring on iRacing has the most track variations due to the Porsche experience on the inside of the track, though that's usually used for time attack competitions and tournaments as well. And, you know, some very fun meme events have happened there, and some cool 1v1 tournaments have happened there as well, with all over the, I think, 10 different track configurations. As this is Sealner having a little bit of an issue at the hairpin. And, he got onto the curb on the entry, and I think just locked up the rear brakes, and that caught out the rear end, just kicked it off to the side.
I have been thinking, Austin, whether or not we could do super trucks on the Porsche experience. I don't think it would work because we have no cut-throughs, but I want to see 4 wide.
The outer layout does have a jump. The outer layout does have a jump. They have a giant bowl that dips in at the Porsche Experience Center, and the outer layout, you jump in and then you jump out with those super trucks. That was the layout that I believe Southpaw Racer used for his Max Vance series in the Porsche. Using Mercedes while trying to play horse by spelling BMW. That event was crazy. And speaking of crazy, Luis Araya going crazy late on the brakes, and you can see on how much track position he closed down on Lockie Brown. Brown going pretty slow. This has got to be Araya's opportunity right now, because it is 1 minute 15 seconds separating them from the checkered flag right now, and I think that's going to be 1 lap to go when they finish this lap. So 1.5 laps left. Brown versus Araya for the lead here in the LP1s for the Apex Racing League Prototype Championship here at Hockenheimring, and Brown is all over. Brown has Araya all over his rear end as Araya is closing in. Araya looking for the outside. No. Brown's ran out of fuel. I called it. He's out of fuel. He tried to short fuel it, and he ran out of fuel. Luis Araya takes the lead of the race. White flag, 1 lap to go. The short fuel strategy.
Wells get second place.
The short fuel strategy for Lockie Brown did not pay off, and Lockie Brown is in the pits. He was in the pits, and then he pulled out, then he's in the pits again. Hielner also underfueled as well. He's back into the pit lane, and Robert De Filippis is trying to close down that gap, but Wells unable to get second place. But Lockie Brown, I thought that pit stop was a little bit too shorter. It was too short. He did underfuel the car, and that was all for Araya to just keep his hopes up, keep that pace up, put the pressure on Brown, so he had to use all that fuel. Couldn't fuel save at all. And I thought it was a little bit strange that Araya was closing in. He was all over the bumper on that entire final lap. Well, now we know why. He didn't have enough fuel to finish the race. So Luis Araya, I think that smile on his face is wider than a mile right now, because he is going to be a Apex Racing League prototype race winner here in the LMP1s. Your winner today, Luis Araya!
And it's been a long time coming, and it's extremely well deserved. Congratulations to Luis Araya. Shame that we didn't see him be able to make that move on the last lap. He was putting himself in a great position. Brown not even that far behind, very rapid in the pit lane. He still takes points out of World's Championship lead, but he really needed to take the race win tonight. Instead, Worlds will have a big margin heading into the final 3 rounds of the championship. In the P2 overall, Grosseto has got the gap up to 4 seconds. Mork was a while back before the pit stops, made up a bunch of time in the pit stops, and if anything, I was thinking it was going to be Mork who was going to have to make an extra pit stop. But his pace seems all good. He's not fuel saving at the moment. He's got a big gap to his teammates behind, and I think Mork is going to be able to hang on, but Grosseto didn't have much opposition in the P2 pros, but we should not underestimate Mork, Sorensen, Kavod and Shui, all excellent drivers, all pro level honestly in the P2 field. And Grosseto has comfortably beaten all of them, took pole position, excellent race start, and in a championship which has been a little bit up and down for him, this has been a perfect drive from the Italian, and he takes the win for Scania Endurance Motorsports. Fabio Grosseto, your P2 Pro winner. Has Mork run out of fuel, or is he just
he's crawling,
slowing down?
I think he's at... Yeah, he just ran out at the line.
On board, if possible. See if we've got any sound of that car. I can't hear it.
I believe that's all.
Yeah, he's ran out of fuel. He wasn't fuel saving. He was going full pelt to the line there, and yeah, good. They had a gap behind him.
Well, hey, there's underfueling, there's fueling right towards the line. Mork was definitely pushing it. But I think when he saw that his fuel calculator is just reported just a little bit to the end, he's like, I probably should save, and that's probably where that gap went. But Grosseto with the overall victory and the pro victory, even though it was a field of 2, but pretty much a field of 1 after the first lap with Matthias Burke's issue. Mork takes the P2 AM, but Luis Araya with the LMP1 victory ahead of Lockie Brown, who, that's a gutting result to see. He risked it with the underfuel when he went into the pits. It didn't work out for him. P2 for Lockie Brown. Jack Wells finishes in 3rd. Robert De Filippis in 4th. Hulner in 5th. Matt Ludridge, after a crazy up and down race start and hardware failure, finishes the race in 7th. And Josh Lane in 7th place. Over to you, Sam, with the LMP2s.
Yes, Fabio Grosseto, the only finisher. He was ahead of Matthias Burke. I don't think Burke had the pace to beat him anyway. Well, we saw Burke not... Well, he was just a bit slow in qualifying, wasn't he, Burke? Very good driver, obviously, as Matthias, but yeah, he wasn't good, great in qualifying and had an issue earlier on. And then in the P2 AMS, Mork, a lap clear. Oh, so Mork was a lap clear, so I didn't even pick that up. So, of course, Sorensen wasn't able to complete a lap time. So Mork, I mean, he's sort of under fuel, but in terms of the fuel that he needed to do to beat the drivers in the P2 AMS, he was perfectly fueled. So, but that was why he was full pelt, because he didn't care. He may as well just go full pelt, and there was no risk of him being overtaken from behind. Sorensen behind him, his teammate Ankeford, making a very good day for 3J1K Racing. Shuri losing important points to Mork in the championship. He'll have some catching up to do in the final 3 rounds. Marks and Klist were in 5th and 6th. So we'll get some interviews with drivers. Just a quick reminder though, anyone who's watching along with this and fancies like taking part, we'll be offering a product on the ApexRacingLeague.com website, which can sign you up for the final 3 rounds of this championship, or you can go sign up for the Formula 4 Championship. Got 50 odd drivers signed up to that. Really good season that's so
Fantastic
far.
series.
Yeah, about halfway through the about a third of the way through the championship so far. Then also we have the Gt3 Trophy, which entries are currently closed for. I think after the next round, we will reopen entries. We reached the limit before round 1 even started of 60 drivers, but I think we'll open up it for maybe 5 more entries, maybe after round 3. So keep an eye on our Discord. There's a link to that in the description below. And yeah, look on the announcements channel to see whenever we post new series launching. So we were having a chat with him earlier on because he does work here a bit at Apex Racing TV, does Luis. But I'll give you, Austin, the honors of chatting to our race winner tonight.
I'll definitely take that opportunity right there. Luis, how are you feeling? You walked into this with a little bit of practice that you said, and hey, that little bit of practice paid off for you right there. You come home with the win here at Hockenheimring. How you feeling?
I'm feeling awesome. I never thought I'm going to fight off Lucky because he's mega fast, but yeah, today was an awesome day.
It certainly seemed awesome out there. Well, nothing can really get better than a race victory. When you finished your pit stop and you saw Lockie Brown exiting the pits ahead of you, what was going through your mind? Did you know that he underfueled his car and we're just like, I gotta force him to use all the fuel right there? Or what was going through your mind when you saw Lockie ahead of you?
I only think push for everything because last rounds I've been underfueling a little bit, so I just made sure I just filled a couple of liters extra, and that finally paid off. So it's a good one there. I never thought Lucky was going to pit again, so it was very strange when we came into the last corner and he just disappeared into the pits.
Yeah, what was going through your mind when the white flag came out and you saw Lockie pull off? Did you have to pinch yourself?
No, I have 3 liters left when I passed the line, so I knew I had enough fuel to go the last lap. So I was just thinking what is going on here because something's wrong. It's not the usual mistake for Lucky to do that. So yeah, it was very, very fun today.
Well, very fun and a very fantastic finish for you to take this win here at Hockenheimring. Before we let you go, anybody you want to shout out and thank after that fantastic performance, pole, and the victory here?
It was awesome. I thank my team always supporting me, and Stian, who's home watching the broadcast, is unfortunately not available today. And yeah, Øystein and everyone that's have helped me the last couple of weeks. So has been very, very fun to drive the last 2 rounds has been awesome. I felt I have a good pace, but I didn't even think about I'm going to pull off the win today.
Well, you pulled off the victory. Congrats on that, Luis. Next round, well, we have 3 rounds left in the championship. How are you feeling about the championship standing so far?
I honestly, I don't know how the other guys went. I think Jack
I can tell
went.
you.
Yeah.
I've done the points. Here we go. This is fantastic broadcasting.
Live
right
updates.
Here. Okay, so Jack's now on 227. You're on 210. Lockie's on 195. So you're 17 points behind Jack. I think he made 10 points up on him tonight. So if you win the final 3 rounds, you're guaranteed the title. But even if you just win 2 of them, that might be enough for the title. So you're giving yourself a good chance.
I hope you don't curse me there, Sam. But yeah, but yeah, I actually never driven on the Motorsport before, so I definitely need to put in some time the next week to practice a lot and find the setup and everything, because this cars hasn't been here for I don't know how long, if they're ever been here. So
I believe it's a never situation with the Motorsport. So yeah, it's gonna be up in the air for you out there, but yeah. Excited to see that.
Yeah, I'm very excited as well. So that's going to be a hard week, and I hope the preparations in front of next week's are as good as there has been the last couple of weeks. So, but you never know. New track, new car, never driven there before. So yeah, we're going in with a clean sheet, everyone. So let's hope for the best.
All right. Well, thank you, Luis, and we hope to see how you do in the upcoming rounds. Sam, any final words?
I think just a good race once again. I mean, I don't think it was. We've had some terrific events this season. Watkins Glen was so dramatic with I think all the race leaders crashing out at some point. Some of the race leaders crashing out multiple times, as far as I can recall. Yeah, also some great races going on this season, Daytona in particular. But this one was pretty crazy, wasn't it, tonight? And also, I think it's really close in the championships. So, like I was saying, in the LMP1s, super close. The P2 AMs, a little bit more separated now, with more getting a bit of a gap. But still, lots of racing to go in the last 3 rounds, and I think a lot could happen, Austin.
A lot certainly could happen, and hey, I think it's the best of the series yet to come with 3 rounds. 17 points separates the LP1 championship. They're going to be on a track that I say LP1s have never visited before. So it's going to be all up in the air. Whoever can learn that track the fastest, maybe learn how to set up a car that it was definitely not designed to go around there, is going to be a fantastic way to end out that race. And we might see an upset.
I think that's a good shout. Yeah, whoever can put a lot of practice in, going to be an advantage. I imagine half the corners, though, are going to be flat out in the LMP1. I mean, lots of long radius corners, and they're absolutely going to be gunning it. It's going to be a lot of fun. You do not want to miss it. That will be, of course, on Apex Racing TV next week. Got loads of other broadcasts coming up, though. Later on, you can hear my voice again for the week 2 of the Radical Racing Challenge, the official series. We broadcast the strength of field race. Lots of very good drivers taking part in that. Some legends of the Radical SR8 taking their hands on the SR10. So that's certainly worth watching on Apex Racing TV. Tomorrow we have the Formula 4 Championship. I think the best broadcast, in my opinion, that we have on the channel each week. I think Austin would back me up on that one as well. And the 3.5 as well is just after that. On Sunday we've got the IGP Fun. On
Fantastic
Tuesday,
broadcast.
yeah, as well. Yeah, where you can listen to Austin on that one as well. On Tuesday we have the Gt3 Trophy with 60 odd cars tackling lots of different circuits. And there's loads of other stuff as well, especially if you are based in the US. Lots of broadcasts for you guys with oval formats as well, along with lots of road racing as well with Rick Tech Sports Car Series and such. So lots available for both the European and the American markets. Of course, do check out our social media pages on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Go follow us on all of those platforms. We've got lots of content coming out on there. And yes, of course, subscribe to Apex Racing TV. Big thanks to SDK Gaming, to Virtual Racing School, and to Apex Racing Academy as well for sponsoring this series and offering some great prizes to the top drivers. But that is pretty much all we have for tonight. So I've been Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me has been Austin Knight. Jamie Fluke has been operating the cameras, and we'll see you back in a week's time in Canada. See you then.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.